So this video has kind of been a long time coming. Uh, I was meaning to get some thoughts out for Star Wars The Last Jedi a while ago. I was even going to do parts, but I just, after watching the movie and just how, like, almost toxic the Star Wars fandom has been, it it gave me a desire not to put the effort into doing a full-fledged big review about Star Wars. So I just wanted to give some general thoughts about the movie and a conclusion that I came about The Last Jedi somewhat recently. And as you can see in the title of the video, in my opinion, Star Wars The Last Jedi is the antithesis of the prequels. And now when I say that, I don't mean, you might think that I'm saying the Last Jedi was amazing because the prequels were terrible. See, I don't think the prequels were completely terrible. Just like The Last Jedi isn't completely great. There are good things about the prequels and there are bad things about the prequels, just like The Last Jedi. But when I really started to think about it, the good and the bad were almost like opposite between the prequels and The Last Jedi. I'll start with the prequels. In my opinion, the prequels were a lot of bad moments, but the scenes within the moments, the scenes were okay. There was nothing wrong with the scenes themselves. There was nothing great about the scenes. There were, however, a couple great scenes in the prequels, in my opinion. You have the opera scene in Episode 3. I consider that a great scene. The Duel of the Fates in the end of Episode 1. That's a great scene. But mostly it's just these bad moments throughout all three of these movies. Like the line about "I hate sand." That's not a whole scene. That's just a moment. That's just a bad moment. And then you can look at the scene of Obi-Wan Kenobi on Kamino, and when he's talking with the long-headed people, long-necked people, whatever. That scene, there's nothing bad about that scene, but there's nothing great about it. It's just okay. And so, The Last Jedi, when I started to think about it, it's almost like the opposite of all those things. While the prequels were mostly bad moments, The Last Jedi was mostly good moments. The Yoda cameo, the hyperdrive kamikaze thing they did, or Lightspeed, not hyperdrive. No, it is hyperdrive, I think. I don't know, I don't care anymore. The team-up fight scene. Those are great moments, but they're not scenes. I think the scenes themselves, similar to the prequels, are okay. There's nothing wrong with the scenes, but then they're not great either. You can think of, for example, the scene where Poe takes control of the Radis, and him and a bunch of the other Resistance pilots, they hold Holdo at gunpoint. There's nothing great about that scene, but there's also nothing wrong about it. So while the prequels were bad moments within okay scenes, The Last Jedi is great moments within okay scenes. But then I mentioned the prequels had some great scenes in it. You get the opposite of that with The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi has some terrible scenes in it. Specifically, the whole stuff with Finn and Rose. That was, in my opinion, that was some of the worst stuff we've gotten from Star Wars. I I could spend, you know, I could spend a long time just talking about all the problems I had with those scenes in particular. But I don't want to get into that. I don't. At this point, I'm just over it. I'm just over the whole criticism of Star Wars and the so-called fans, and it's it is what it is. And I just wanted to share that thought I had, that Last Jedi, it's basically the opposite of the prequels. And I know a lot of people completely hate on the prequels, saying there's nothing good in it, but there were a lot of good stuff in it. There was a lot of good stuff in the prequels. And another interesting parallel I just thought of, when you start looking at the actors within the prequels and the sequel trilogy. In the prequels, you have much more experienced actors, so to speak, like Liam Neeson, Christopher Lee, Samuel Jackson, Ewan McGregor. I don't know if Ewan McGregor did a lot before Episode 1, but still, they're much more, they're seasoned actors who have had roles before, and they're just not doing a good job because the writing's not that good. But then you go over to the sequel trilogy, and these actors are much less experienced, and they're doing a better job, which is just all comes down to the writing. In my opinion, in these movies, Adam Driver gives one of the best performances in Star Wars, because there's really not that much competition when it comes to acting performances within all of Star Wars. The original trilogy included. I don't. Mark Hamill was great in this movie. He doesn't bring much to the original trilogy, acting wise. It was all Harrison Ford in Episode 5. And James Earl Jones, Ian McDiarmid. I think those actors made up the good performances within the original trilogy. But see, I'm still getting off topic, and I'm just kind of thinking about how I'm supposed to end this. But for the most part, I liked The Last Jedi. I didn't like it as much as Force Awakens, or as much as Empire Strikes Back. I would say it's probably on the same level as A New Hope for me personally. If I were to rank Star Wars movies, and not ranking Rogue One with them, because I think I'll enjoy the spin-offs more if I keep them separate from the main movies. So if I were to rank them from least favorite to favorite episodes, least favorite is definitely Episode 1, and then Episode 2, Episode 6, Episode 3, Episode 4, Episode 8, Episode 5, and Episode 7. So that's how I would rank them. I know there's a lot of controversial rankings on that list. Don't get me started on how much I thought Return of the Jedi was a huge disappointment. But yeah, so I guess that's gonna be it.